I want you off my property right now. You do not belong here.
Mrs. Harrington, I was invited. I didn't come here to argue. I came here to take back what's mine.
Security. Get this woman off our property right now. Eleanor Harrington's voice cuts through the warm afternoon air like a blade. Her diamond bracelet catches the sunlight as she waves her hand dismissively toward the woman standing near the garden entrance. She straightens her posture, the kind of posture that comes from decades of believing the world belongs to people like her. The woman she's pointing at doesn't flinch. Doesn't move. Doesn't raise her voice. My name is Diane Washington. And I think there may be a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Eleanor steps closer, dropping her voice to a sharp whisper. Let me be very clear with you. This estate is valued at over $30 million. Every person on these grounds comes from a family with a name that means something in this country. You do not belong here. Diane keeps her hands still at her sides. I apologize for any confusion, Mrs. Harrington. Eleanor's eyes narrow. The absolute audacity of walking onto private property like you have some kind of right to be here. She snaps her fingers at the two security guards approaching from the side path. Remove her. Now. Before she causes a scene or embarrasses herself any further. Of course. Diane's voice is smooth as still water. As you wish. But Eleanor has no idea who she just threatened. Instead of walking toward the exit, Diane moves through the garden with the kind of ease that only comes from knowing a place deeply. Her steps naturally avoid the uneven flagstones near the rose beds, the ones that would catch the heel of any first-time visitor. She takes the narrow path alongside the old carriage house, a shortcut that appears on no map and appears in no tour, known only to people who grew up walking it. The catering manager nearly drops his clipboard when he sees her. Mrs. Harrington, that woman is nothing. His face goes pale and he busies himself with a tray of champagne flutes, stealing glances at Diane when he thinks no one is watching. Eleanor notices the reaction and misreads it completely. Why is everyone acting so strange today? Diane moves through the grounds with an unsettling familiarity. She pauses at the old oak tree near the east wall, her fingers finding the carved initials without searching for them. She looks at the reflecting pool without needing to be told what it is or where it came from. She stops at the rear entrance of the main house and stands quietly, her eyes moving across the brass doorknob like someone reading a book they've memorized. Eleanor follows her at a distance, irritation mounting with every step. She's studying this property. Like she's planning something. The wedding planner approaches nervously. Mrs. Harrington, perhaps we should focus on the ceremony preparations. It begins in less than an hour. Eleanor waves her off without looking. Not yet. Not until this woman is off our grounds. An elderly man in a groundskeeper's uniform rounds the corner near the garden shed. He stops dead when he sees Diane. His cap comes off his head before he even realizes he's removed it. Then he catches Eleanor's eye watching him and quickly looks away. Diane stops near the reflecting pool. She studies the fountain the way you study something you've known your whole life and then lost for a very long time. The elderly groundskeeper approaches slowly, almost reluctantly, as though he knows what this moment is going to cost him. Miss Diane. His voice barely carries. Is it really you? Eleanor's head snaps toward him. James. Do you know this person? James's mouth opens and closes. Well, she used to come here. A long time ago. When she was young. Diane turns toward him with a quiet smile. Hello, James. The gardens look beautiful. You've taken such good care of everything. His eyes fill. Your father would be so proud of you. You look just like him. Eleanor steps between them. I don't know what kind of game this is, but this conversation is over right now. She grabs the old man's arm. Get back to work, James. Immediately. Diane watches without a word. Her composure doesn't crack, not even as Eleanor handles the elderly man like he's a piece of furniture. More staff members begin to notice. Whispers move through the service corridors. The head butler peers through a window and grips the frame. Two housekeepers in the side yard clutch each other's arms. Why does everyone keep staring? Eleanor demands. All of you, back to your stations. They scatter. But they keep watching. Diane reaches the main entrance gates. The iron scrollwork still carries the original design her great-grandfather commissioned, the same pattern that once appeared on every building on this property. She traces it slowly with 2 fingers. The security guard standing beside her goes very still. His face loses all its color. Ma'am, we really should go now. Behind her, the wedding guests are congratulating themselves on handling the situation. Eleanor addresses them with the confidence of someone who has never lost. Ladies and gentlemen, please forgive the interruption. Some people simply don't understand where they belong. Light applause moves through the crowd. Diane steps through the gates. But instead of walking to the street and disappearing, she crosses to her car, opens the trunk, and removes a leather briefcase. Calm. Deliberate. Unhurried. The security guard takes a step back. What's in the case? Diane's expression is almost gentle. Documentation. She turns and walks back through the gates. The real confrontation hasn't even started yet. Eleanor's voice jumps an octave when she sees Diane returning. She's back. Someone stop her right now. But Diane doesn't walk toward the crowd. She walks to a quiet table at the edge of the reception area, sits down, opens her briefcase, and begins reviewing papers. Eleanor stares. Then marches over. Absolutely not. She points at the nearest server. Do not serve this woman anything. Do not speak to her. She is not a guest. Is that understood? The server nods and retreats, but keeps glancing back. Guests begin clustering nearby, their voices growing louder and less careful. Who does she think she is? She's probably trying to set up some kind of lawsuit. Look at her sitting there like she owns the place. Diane continues reading. Her focus is complete. Professional. A group of younger guests approach her table, emboldened by the crowd. Excuse me, but this is a private event. Diane looks up. Yes, I know. Then why are you still here? I'll leave when the time is right. The laughter from the group is sharp and deliberately loud. When the time is right. Who exactly do you think you are? Diane returns to her documents without answering. She's ignoring us. Can you believe that? Eleanor watches with approval from across the lawn. More guests join. The circle around Diane's table tightens. Voices sharpen. What is she writing? You can't just sit there taking notes about people. That's harassment. Diane closes her notepad. I'm documenting observations. Documenting what? Eleanor pushes through the group. Are you threatening us? Not at all. I'm noting behavior patterns. How people treat those they believe have no power. Eleanor laughs. Honey, you have no idea what real power looks like. Diane stands slowly. Don't I? Before Eleanor can respond, a new voice cuts across the lawn. Marcus Coleman steps out of the parking area, still straightening his jacket, his wedding invitation visible in his breast pocket. He's a tall man. The kind of calm that comes with authority. His eyes find Diane immediately and his entire body goes still. He mouths something. Then walks toward her. Marcus. You know this woman? Eleanor demands. He looks at the crowd surrounding Diane's table. Then back at Eleanor. Yeah. I know her. Well, who is she? He takes a breath. Someone you don't want to have as an enemy. Eleanor's laugh is dismissive. Marcus, you're being dramatic. She's a trespasser. Marcus removes his hat. Your Honor, I had absolutely no idea you'd be here today. The phrase lands in the middle of the crowd like a stone dropped into still water. Your Honor. Marcus. Eleanor's voice sharpens. What is wrong with you? Mrs. Harrington. His tone is careful, deliberate. I would strongly suggest you stop talking right now. Stop talking? This is my property. This woman has been harassing my guests for the last hour. Marcus looks at Diane. She gives the smallest shake of her head. He turns back. Mrs. Harrington, do you know who actually holds the deed to this property? What kind of question is that? A simple one. Who owns this land? Eleanor straightens. The Harrington family. We have lived here for 20 years. Marcus pulls out his phone. Would you mind if I ran a quick property search? County records are public. That is completely unnecessary. Just being thorough. He scrolls. Nassau County. 52 Whitmore Lane, Southampton. His face goes grim. Interesting. What's interesting? Eleanor's friend Patricia demands. Marcus looks at Diane. She nods. According to county records, this property was originally purchased in 1924 by a man named James Washington. It passed to his son, Robert Washington, in 1952. Then to Robert's daughter in 2003. He pauses. Diane Washington. The silence is the loudest thing any of them have ever heard. That's impossible. Eleanor's voice cracks. We purchased this property legally. There was documentation. There were debts from the estate. Marcus is already on his phone. Hey, Carol. Marcus Coleman. Can you pull the full file on 52 Whitmore Lane? Yeah, I'll hold. While he waits, Diane opens her briefcase and removes a thick manila folder. She places documents on the table one by one. Property deeds. Tax records. Inheritance papers. Victoria lunges forward. Don't show those to anyone. This is a forgery. Carol. Marcus's voice cuts through. What have you got? He listens. No recorded sale. Property taxes paid continuously by the Diane Washington Trust. He closes his eyes for a moment. How long? 22 years. He hangs up slowly. Mrs. Harrington, Miss Washington has been paying the property taxes on this estate for over 2 decades. Eleanor grabs Patricia's arm. That's impossible. We live here. We maintain this house. Diane's voice is quiet. Without permission. Excuse me? You have been living on my property without permission for 20 years. Eleanor's world tilts. James the groundskeeper approaches. He holds his cap in both hands, turning it slowly. Mrs. Harrington, I've worked on these grounds for 40 years. My father worked here before me. Miss Diane's grandfather hired him in 1945. This family built this estate. Every brick, every garden wall, every flagstone path. This was the Washington estate. All of us on staff, we've always known it. Eleanor stares at him. You knew. We tried to say something, ma'am. More than once. Eleanor turns on him. You're fired. Pack your things. Diane speaks clearly. James works for me. He has for 20 years. His salary has been paid through my estate trust the entire time. Another wave of stunned silence moves through the crowd. Marcus nods. Confirmed. Property taxes, groundskeeper wages, full maintenance costs. All paid by the Diane Washington Trust. Eleanor's attorney, an older man named Gerald Fenton who arrived during the commotion, finds his way to the front of the crowd. His briefcase is already open. His face closes the moment he sees Diane. Judge Washington. His voice is almost a whisper. Eleanor spins toward him. Gerald. Good. Tell them this is fraud. Tell them these documents are forgeries. Gerald Fenton wipes his forehead with a folded handkerchief. Victoria, I need to speak with you. Privately. Immediately. Speak to me here. What is the problem? The problem, Gerald says carefully, is that Judge Diane Washington presides over the Eastern District Federal Court. She handles organized crime, public corruption, and financial fraud. Her conviction rate is among the highest in the country. Eleanor goes still. The fraud that removed this property from the Washington family, Gerald continues, involved forged documents, false legal correspondence, and the falsification of public records. All of which constitute federal crimes. Crimes, Gerald says quietly, that trace back to Bradford Estate Management. The firm your husband used 20 years ago. Patricia touches Eleanor's arm. Eleanor. We need to go. Eleanor cannot move. Cannot speak. Marcus looks at the assembled guests. The circle that formed to mock Diane Washington is very quiet now. The groom appears at the edge of the terrace, still in his wedding suit, his new bride beside him. His name is Nathan Harrington, Eleanor's son. He looks across the lawn, finds Marcus, follows his gaze to the table where Diane stands. Nathan's face goes white. Mom. What happened? Eleanor points at Diane. That woman is trying to take our home. Nathan stares at Diane for a long moment. Then he walks toward her. Slowly. His steps heavy with something the crowd can't quite name yet. Judge Washington. His voice is barely above a whisper. Diane looks at him. Hello, Nathan. The crowd senses the shift immediately. 3 years ago, Nathan says. His voice is unsteady. I stood in front of your bench. Federal charges. I was guilty. The evidence was overwhelming. I deserved prison. Eleanor grabs his arm. Nathan, don't. He gently removes her hand. Mom. Let me finish. He faces the guests. Judge Washington had every legal right to sentence me to 25 years. She gave me community service instead. Financial counseling. Victim restitution. 200 hours in a homeless shelter. He pauses. She gave me the chance to become someone worth being. She saved my life. The words fall over the crowd like cold water. Nathan turns to his new wife, then back to the guests. We are standing on property that belongs to the woman my mother spent the last hour trying to humiliate and remove. I am free today, free to marry the woman I love, because of this woman's mercy. He looks at Diane. Your Honor, I am so sorry. I am sorry for what you experienced today on your own land. And I am grateful, more than I know how to say, for what you gave me 3 years ago. Diane takes the microphone from him. Her voice is steady and clear. I came here today to reclaim what belongs to my family. What was taken from my father through fraud, through forged documents, and through the kind of manipulation that assumes no one will ever look closely enough to notice. She looks at Eleanor. My father died believing he had somehow lost this property. He spent the last years of his life thinking he had failed his father and his grandfather. He never saw this house again. Eleanor cannot meet her eyes. But watching Nathan speak just now, Diane continues, I am reminded of why I became a judge in the first place. Justice is not only about punishment. It is about accountability, and about what people do when they are finally confronted with the truth. She sets the microphone down and opens the federal folder. Mrs. Harrington. What you and your family did 20 years ago constitutes multiple federal offenses. Mail fraud. Wire fraud. Tax evasion. Falsification of public records. Mr. Fenton's firm will confirm that cooperation with federal authorities is your only viable option at this stage. Gerald Fenton nods. He looks as though he has aged 10 years in the last 20 minutes. However, Diane says, I am not without mercy. The crowd holds its breath. I am not removing you from this estate today. You will remain. But there are conditions. You will issue a formal, public apology to every member of your staff you threatened or dismissed today. You will restore the Washington family name to its rightful place on these grounds. You will establish a maintenance endowment in the Washington family name. James and every other staff member who served this property faithfully will receive formal recognition and employment security. And this estate will host an annual scholarship for students who cannot otherwise access the opportunities that this kind of wealth makes possible. Eleanor nods. Her voice is almost inaudible. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Fenton. Diane closes her briefcase. Your client will voluntarily disclose all relevant financial records to federal authorities. Cooperation will be noted. Gerald swallows. Understood. Diane looks out at the crowd one final time. Real power, she says quietly, does not announce itself by deciding who belongs and who doesn't. Real power shows up quietly, does the work, and earns its place through service and through truth. She picks up her briefcase and walks across the terrace, down the garden path she has known since she was a child, through the iron gates her great-grandfather commissioned in 1924, and out into the afternoon. The estate is completely still. James the groundskeeper stands near the old oak tree, his cap over his heart, watching her go. And that is today's story on Black Voices Louder. Real power does not scream. It does not threaten. It arrives quietly, tells the truth, and leaves the room changed. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe to Black Voices Louder so you never miss a story worth telling.